The first domino has officially fallen in this MLB trade deadline. The first major move by the Seattle Mariners since the Rafi Devers trade to San Francisco in acquiring Josh Naylor from the Arizona Diamondbacks. We are getting into the latest MLB trade talks and the latest reports surrounding our New York Mets right here on this video. Please do smash those thumbs up button, subscribe to the channel, and comment your thoughts and opinions down below. Also, check out all the previous content in the description down below. All right. Yesterday, we saw a move, which was the first major move by a team this trade deadline since the trade to send Rafi Devers from Boston to San Francisco. And the Mariners seem like they are not going to stop there as they are heavily engaged per multiple MLB insiders in a Eugenio Suarez acquisition, which could be the second Diamondback to join the Seattle Mariners offense in hopes of solidifying that lineup in the second half. But how does this affect the New York Mets? And are the Mets still in on a Eugenio Suarez trade? Are they still open to that idea of acquiring the third baseman who has 30 plus home runs so far this season? Well, according to John Heyman, as you can see on both of the reports on the left-handed side, John Heyman states Mets are not in on Suarez. They have a priority, which is the bullpen, but a starting pitcher and a center fielder wouldn't hurt. And that is a little bit of an indication. Does John Heyman know something? Yes, probably. We all know the Mets play their cards very closely, especially under this new regime under David Stearns. So, although I wouldn't 100% rule out the Mets being interested in a Suarez trade, as per Mark Feinsand earlier in the live stream that we did yesterday, we know that the price is astronomically high with the Mariners, the Astros, and the Yankees all being teams reported in on a Suarez package deal. Well, you see it right here from John Heyman and Sports Illustrated's Pat Ragazzo talking about the Mets' continued interest in Luis Robert Jr. Per Pat Ragazzo source, the New York Mets are among a handful of teams that have checked in on White Sox center fielder Luis Robert Jr. As we all know, and as we've talked about multiple times on this channel in the past couple of weeks, Luis Robert Jr. over the past, I don't know, couple of weeks to a month of games has played much better in a White Sox uniform as the trade deadline has neared. He has 25 plus stolen bases, so the speed is an absolute factor there on a Mets team that prioritizes stolen bases and wreaking havoc on the base paths. Robert Jr. is also one of the better center fielders defensively in the game with a very strong arm and great range. So you don't sacrifice too much there going from Tyrone Taylor to Luis Robert Jr. in a hypothetical deal. Now, there is still a long ways away to actually see something like this go through because there is going to be competition, especially given the recent numbers from Robert Jr. at the plate. I can tell you right now, per Bob Nightingale reporting that the Philadelphia Phillies, as we also mentioned previously on the channel, are interested in Robert Jr. But Nightingale also stated that the Mets have a significant more amount of interest in Robert Jr., leaving the question, how far are the Mets really willing to go to acquire their next center fielder, perhaps on an everyday or a platoon basis in the second half? There are a lot of reports also stating that there are a select few players from the White Sox perspective that they are interested in this hypothetical situation if this deal were to happen between the two organizations. And one name that has floated around pretty heavily and extensively has been Mark Vientos. Could that be a one-for-one deal? Would the Mets opt for that one-for-one deal given, what Robert Jr. is doing this season, given the upside and given the ability to fill in that position at center field? Now, if I'm the New York Mets and if Mark Vientos is the guy that the White Sox have identified, at this point, I really do think that Robert Jr. has a high ceiling in the second half, and you'll have him under control for multiple years, even after the 2025 season. the change of scenery aspect is an absolutely real phenomenon for a lot of players in this league, and we have historically seen that. And I make the comparison all the time, and I really do think that this could be, in the best case scenario, a Jorge Soler type of deal back in 2021 when he went on an absolute tear in the second half to help the Braves win a World Series while posting mediocre numbers in the first half. Now, is it a guarantee? Is it a given? We all know Robert Jr. has objectively struggled over the past couple of seasons. He hasn't really looked the same since 2023 in his All-Star season when he put 25 plus homers over the fence. Are we going to see that Robert Jr. come to fruition? Are the Mets willing to risk a team like division rivals, Phillies, the division rival Phillies, go and strike a deal and perhaps get that value for him and from him in the second half? That is really the ultimate question that David Stearns has to answer. But there is a clear interest between the two organizations with these players that are being named. And this is something to definitely keep an eye out on. I talked about Robert Jr. potentially, but maybe not moving the needle for the New York Mets in the second half in the previous video down below. But that was really when Robert Jr. was, I guess, really getting started in his rejuvenation at the plate. We all know over the course of this 2025 season, the splits are very evident. He is tearing the cover off the baseball against lefties, but he's a little bit more susceptible to the right-handed pitching. And that could be a perfect platoon player that this Mets organization, quite frankly, has prioritized in recent memory. So this is going to be very interesting. It's going to be very interesting moving forward, especially as maybe the Mets are not so much in on the third baseman of the second half in Eugenio Suarez. Maybe they go with Ronnie Mauricio or Brett Beatty consistently there, as David Stearns has pointed out in his press conference. But where you can add to the lineup elsewhere is presenting itself right here on the market. But other than Luis Robert Jr., I still think the Mets have room for one more starting rotation arm, whatever caliber they decide to go after, and that could pay a lot of dividends if they decide to utilize Clay Holmes in the bullpen down the stretch of the season as his innings goes up and up in the first year of this 3-year deal from him being converted as a reliever into a starter in the Mets organization. A lot of trade rumors, news, and speculation is going to start coming in very soon, especially after this Josh Naylor deal. But for you all to know, as a little bit of a perspective background, Josh Naylor was traded for the number 13th and 16th overall prospects in the Mariners farm system, which sets a precedent of value in future trades to come in any organization. We will keep tabs on these developments right here on the channel, and we'll be posting more regular videos just like this one. So as always, make sure to subscribe, hit the thumbs up. Again, it helps the channel grow immensely. If you like these conversations, make sure to subscribe. Until next stream or next piece of content on this channel, I'll see you all later. Let's go David Stearns. Let's make some moves, and let's go Mets.